Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner, host of The Wedding Biz, and this is another episode of The Next Level in which myself and a special co-host tease out some of the highlights and help deliver them as some tactics and tips and advice to help you raise your business to the next level. I want to first mention last week's episode, if you missed it, was David Stark of David Stark Design. This is one of the big guys, everybody. If you missed it, you should absolutely go back, listen to his interview. Also, The Next Level. The Next Level, my co-host was Cindy Novotny, very popular consultant with Master Connection Associates. And I wanted her on that particular episode because she has a real interesting take on it that was very appropriate to what David and I spoke about. And it was an amazing conversation, including his view of building business structure, pushing boundaries with design, and so much more. So that was last week. So before I introduce the guest of this morning, we are fortunate to have another wonderful co-host you've heard a few times, and that is Sean Lowe. And Sean's consulting firm, The Business of Being Creative, is focused on providing practical advice to those in the business of being creative. His client list includes the who's who of the wedding industry and design community. And I interviewed Sean, and it was a great conversation earlier this year on February 19th. So I encourage you to check out the conversation Sean and I had February 19th. And at the end, I'll give you his website information. So, Sean, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, very excited to be here.
Yeah, this is a good one. So today's guest is Sylvia Weinstock. Sylvia, and I'm sure all of you know who she is, but just in case, she is one of the great event industry entrepreneurs as a cake designer and a true innovator. Sylvia began her business in the middle of her life, let's say, at the age of 50, and was in business for 36 years. And she closed down her business just a few years ago, though is still dealing with licensing over the world, all over the world. Sylvia is an amazing person. We not only talked about business, but also in her career trajectory, which is very interesting, but we talked about life and her perspective on it, which is really beautiful. And she even gives a tip with dealing with the real difficult times. And so I recommend highly that you go back and listen to the interview. She is a straight shooter, isn't she, Sean? Like, she just tells it like it is.
Oh, she's as candid could be.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
I've known Sylvia since I started with Preston way back when, since 2003. So I've known Sylvia going on 15 years now, and she's a remarkable woman.
Yeah, she is. And I was lucky to have dinner at her apartment recently. She cooked a meal for me. It was really great. So, and this is going to be, I think, a bit of a different next level, getting into some different perspectives based on how it went with Sylvia. You know, one of the things, Sean, that I thought was really fun and interesting was we were talking about, in a sense, how we are creating these illusions. I mean, I mentioned that, you know, Albert Einstein had that very famous quote where reality is merely an illusion. And then she responded, we live with illusion all the time. And she went on to say, you're feeding into a fantasy with celebrations. And I thought it was really interesting how she talked about, she said the bridal industry has, in a sense, sold a bill of fantasy goods to the public in terms of how, like, little girls, for example, carry the fantasy of being a princess. You know, they get through Disney World, and how movies have created that, and how people need that because life is not always so exciting. And she had these examples of how makeup and lipstick is, in a sense, to create an illusion. And even the scent of perfume, like when a woman enters a room, I loved how she said it was beautiful. She said that the scent greets her there. And when she leaves the room, it remains. And we go to theater to live through it. We read books, and we're a participant. And we kind of have this life of voyeurism in certain ways. It's like this vicarious living. And that she said, I thought this was great. Even the queen uses toilet paper. And so we're all human beings. We're here for just a period of time. And reality is a daily choice.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that it's the wisdom that Sylvia has. And I think, you know, whether she talked about it, I'm trying to remember if she talked about it during the show. She may not have, but, you know, as you mentioned, she started the business when she was 50. And she started the business, and within a very short period of time thereafter, found out she had breast cancer.
That's right.
So here it is that it's just so profound to hear her talk this way, because it's from experience, right? That we need this idea of hope. We need this idea of what could be, and we need this idea of fantasy in order to just aspire to something other than maybe what was right in front of us, right? That keeps us going, right? Not to say that our daily lives are grind and horrible and dystopian, but just that there's a way of being that is bigger and and better than we can imagine, and give ourselves and indulge in that every time and again gives us, permission to just be whimsical, right? Which I think is such an amazing statement from a woman who has created, unbelievable whimsy for 35 years.
That's right. And I mean, what an incredible honor and opportunity we have in this industry to, help people with this whole concept. Sylvia was talking about, we're dealing with the client's vision. Again, what is their vision of reality? What do they want? And that she's there to execute. And she also talked about how, getting a little practical here, tactical even, is that we can steer them gently in another direction, but it's their event, it's their vision. So we're interpreting their thoughts into reality. And she added, whether they're celebrities or politicians or big famous athletes or super wealthy, they're all regular people. And when it comes back to this concept of that we are creating these realities and the vision and that every couple and specifically every bride, when she talks about a bride, is a princess to her family. We're all regular people in the end who need this for ourselves.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the part that I want to also say about Sylvia that's a little disingenuous, if you just look at Sylvia's book, for instance, or any of her work, right, you would understand that there's very, very few people on the planet could imagine the cakes that she did when she did them. Maybe you can copy them, which is a whole other thought. Nobody should copy Sylvia because she's such an original. But the reality, though, is that while she is taking their vision and she is doing what they kind of fantasize about, like, it is definitely through her eyes, through those big, beautiful black glasses, the way that she sees the world, the way that she sees what whimsy is going to be, the way she interprets their story, I think is so critical to actually her success. And I appreciate her culture of service. I appreciate her desire to be really related to her clients. But I also want to say on the other side of that, just to throw it out there, that she practices this amazing way of interpretation and really storytelling that is uniquely hers, right? So as much as it is their story, it's their story told through her eyes, right? That's what this is about.
But I want to add too, I know her really well, and we've talked a lot.
We both do.
Yeah, we both do. And also talked to her a lot about how she gets to know a client and that she really connects with them. I mean, we've heard in a lot of these interviews, especially with the planners and really anybody, photographers, all of them, designers, that there's a certain degree of us having to be like a therapist with the couple and all the issues that come up, whether it's between the two of them or between them and the parents or issues with family. And it's a very emotional event and we're in the thick of it with them and for a long period of time. And she had told me some stories off the microphone when I had dinner with her about how she really connects with them, which I mean, all the best, this, Sean, the best in the industry, they are so brilliant at personally connecting with their clients, not only to enjoy, but also so that they can really get a good sense of their personality and pull out these aspects of it in addition to what they're literally saying about their vision, and then to be able to create it. And like you say, yes, there's a certain aspect that's through our eyes and through Sylvia's eyes, but I love how she gets that close. And I know that Preston, a lot of people, I mean, I'm not picking out Preston, he's one of many, but I also remember with Preston, even my own experience of how personal he gets, and you worked with him, and the way that he gets in there and is so humble, which is what Sylvia is too, to lead to creating this vision, this reality.
Mm-hmm. I think it's about being present. I think what we're circling around is just the ability to be present, the ability to not care who's in front of you and not care that, look at Sylvia's, who she's done work for, right? Celebrities and wealthy people, everyone, right? That most of us would be intimidated just to talk to. And I think that what the commonality you're talking about from talking about Preston, talking about Sylvia, talking about all the luminaries that are out there, is just their ability to just absolutely be present to the human being, as you said, to the queens and the princesses that are in front of them, and to respect where they are and who they are and what they're there for, and to really, really just know that it isn't about the physical thing you're going to do for them even, right? Because that's expected, right? It's expected that you're going to do remarkable work for them, but really to just not just listen, right? It's, it reminds me of you'll know this song, but I'm an 80s junkie, right? And so there's Peter Gabriel fan, and he has, what is it? I think it's, you'll know the song. It's about voices, but the line is, I can't help but listen, but I don't want to hear, right? And so the work that both, that what Sylvia does so well is that she doesn't only listen, she really hears. She takes her wisdom and her way and her ability to connect, and something that hopefully generation after generation can really learn from her, right? Which is, you've got to hear. You've got to hear the person in front of you, the frail person with a fantasy that wants to indulge in that fantasy and have a moment for themselves to feel like a princess, right? Is what they're about, or to feel like a king or a prince. Is really what she's about, and she's just constantly saying in all of her work is like, you've just got to hear. Don't just listen to the words about the physical thing they want, which is the cake or the flowers or the catering, right? But listen to what's underneath it and really hear it. Is what I think that's her overarching message, and it's so powerful.
Yeah, she's really brilliant at that. And I have something really special to talk about. It's our sponsor for today, and believe me, we check them out thoroughly. We don't just take anyone. So I want to say that if you need more presence in the market and you're wondering how to accomplish that, you need to check out OFD Consulting. They are an award-winning publicity agency that focuses on the wedding industry. Their client portfolio ranges from top-tier planners and venues to well-regarded national brand and industry thought leaders. OFD Consulting has placed clients in a slew of popular online and offline publications, and they also have a service dedicated entirely to B2B press. So for those looking to elevate your brand reputation among peers through online mentions, guest articles, podcasts, and speaking engagements, you've got to contact them. And one more piece of information, I want to tell you that if you are a small business, and most of us are, and you want to dip your toes in the PR waters, check out the OFD Collective, which is a 3-tier membership with robust educational and coaching opportunities along with ongoing press leads. So check out ofdconsulting.com. Again, we talked a lot about just life and experience. And at the time, her husband, Ben, was still alive when I did the interview, and she was dealing with some really heavy struggles. And I think that they were married for 62 years. I mean, and great, incredible relationship. And we talked about that, and Sylvia talked about it, and he had since passed away. And again, I wish I could have had a microphone when I had dinner with her recently, because her attitude about life is just so beautiful. I mean, we had a very direct talk, and I don't want to say too much that was personal, but I'm just stunned at how she is able to look at life and keep going and overall have this incredible, excited, passionate, positive outlook. And, that led to talking about a sense of humor. And I want to make a point because, I'm sure all of us, obviously we have moments, and I think we all go through some kind of cycles where we're dealing with some real difficult stuff, real difficult struggles with our business, with our personal life that makes the business hard to deal with, all of that. And we talked about it. And Sylvia said, one really needs a sense of humor to get through life. She said, if we really took everything to heart, we would probably be devastatingly depressed if we took everything to heart. And I said to her, how do you do it? And she said every single day, it's like an exercise for her. She is looking for something that will give her joy. And she said that if you're open, there's always going to be something that gives you like an inner chuckle. And that's the key. You can find humor in a great deal of things. And that's a lot of what just keeps her going.
God, yeah. And I think that's exactly right. I think it goes back to her ability to overcome breast cancer, right? And I think it's having a sense of humor of things, right? Having a sense of humor about life, and it's about putting a smile on your face, right? And being really accepting, right? I mean, the one thing I have to say about Sylvia is, remember today we think about whatever, gay weddings or different kinds of events, and that are maybe, today it's like it's in the vernacular and hopefully is becoming more and more in the fabric of our culture. Right. But that's not from where Sylvia comes. Right. She's way before that. Right. Even when she started, it was way before that. And yet she's always been somebody who just truly accepting of who people are and what they're about. And she's done it for years and years. And she's been this person who's just incredibly eclectic about the people in her life, and allowing that to flow into her life, and that sense of acceptance allows her to smile, right? Allows her to be. And I think that that's just a huge lesson for all of us, right? Be accepting, right? Be accepting. Nobody has to be like you for you to accept them. You just have to be interesting to you. So, and I think that's the thing that Sylvia has been so good at for so long.
As we get ready to wrap up, I want to say, yes, she is. And she's such a special lady. I feel so honored to have been able to have her on the show, and I'll probably have her. Yeah. And I'll probably have her on again. There's just so much to talk about with her and learn from her. And so I want to thank everybody for listening, to this, The Next Level about Sylvia Weinstock. I want to urge you all to check out her website, which is very interesting. It's at sylviaweinstock.com, sylviaweinstock.com. And Sean, I want to thank you once again. I love every time you come on the show. You have such a great perspective. And I want to tell everybody, yeah, sure. And I want to tell everybody, check out Sean's website, thebusinessofbeingcreative.com. Again, thebusinessofbeingcreative.com. Sean also has a blog that goes out every week that is just chock filled with incredible inspiration and information. So be sure to check that out. Go to our show notes at our website of theweddingbiz.com. I want to also urge you all, if you haven't done so, through your podcast app to subscribe to The Wedding Biz, because then you'll get notifications, and of course it's free. We are going to take off next week for the holiday, so we'll miss you all next week, but we've got a lot of special guests coming up, a lot of cool things coming in the future. Thanks again, everybody, for listening, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks.